It's horrific. Their bodies were blown up by AR-15s. This shouldn't happen. How can this still happen?
And this is the sound from that interview I did earlier. And at this point, I mean, I already disturbed, Liz, of course. We had been covering it for a while, but I think I was physically shaking at this point. The way that he described what the bodies looked like, and there being body bags, I could not believe what he was walking us through and what other people had to see on the scene. And he's a doctor.
And you could hear sort of the progression in his interview as he sort of talked through it in his head, starting out with informational. He seemed to think that this came from above. He was talking about the angle from which these shots were fired and what he saw at first. The two lines that struck me in that, besides bodies being eviscerated, were he, quote, picked people off. And he said, Ravi, the image will never leave you the rest of your life. And he said, you know, he's a physician, he's seen this stuff, and still yet you could hear how his voice was shaking there. This isn't supposed to happen, is how he ended it.
Well, you remember the kind of revulsion that we all had when Uvalde happened about a month ago, and, you know, so many other incidents. And as you say, the doctor's response to Sam, it just gets more emotional the more he talks about it. When will this end? So, you know, I'm just looking actually at the map of Highland Park on my phone, one of my phones over here, and just to, you know, anybody who has their suburb or has their community and has their main street and has where all the cool shops are and the places where people like to walk, that's where this happened, in this very nice neighborhood, historic town, tight-knit, that has all kinds of community activities all the time, very much a community ethos there. And folks move, typically when they're young and they move from Wrigleyville or wherever, they'll often land in Highland Park, because this is supposed to be where that American life and American dream can be lived out. And that is exactly where this has taken place. This is not some remote place in Texas. This is not somewhere in Florida. This is not the places that you don't go. This is our town, and 6 people are dead. 24 people are in the hospital right now, and somebody's still out there. And as you say, Liz, this person, whoever did this, one person, was sitting apparently up on a roof, according to eyewitnesses, picking people off with clearly with weapons of war. And despite the fact that Congress has just passed new gun legislation, bipartisan gun legislation, it will be interesting to see if there is more take-up about what was in that bill and what wasn't in that bill, and if in fact there's going to be more of a demand. Because I am certainly getting, and I'm sure you are as well, notes from people on any number of formats saying that this is the day to celebrate freedom, and we're being imprisoned in our houses because of this. All the other parades around, certainly on the North Shore, in Skokie and Evanston and elsewhere, canceled. Beaches closed on this 4th of July out of an abundance of caution in Evanston. And people do not feel free because this kind of thing keeps happening in Buffalo, in California. You name it, it's happening. So we'll see how that is all responded to. Nancy Rotering, who is the mayor of Highland Park, saying very clearly that this is a senseless, random, terrorized. Her community has been terrorized on the day when we're here to celebrate freedom. And she was thanking, of course, the first responders who we are seeing there, running to the danger to try to get people out of there. It is absolutely striking at everybody's sense of well-being.
And Ravi, as we sit here watching these images of the scene that's unfolded over the last few hours ago, and Sam, we are still hearing from investigators. They're still looking for that gunman. That person is not in custody. They have provided a bit of clarification on
1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI. Of course, Ravi and Liz, we're going to be right here outside.
And my team scattered. Everyone in the community ran away. At first, we didn't know what the situation was. As more information is coming in, we now know that tragically 6 people have been murdered. 30-plus people have been taken to the hospital. And what is normally a day of gathering in Highland Park, thousands of people line the parade route, celebrate together, are smiling, are happy. It was a beautiful day, was shattered in an instant because someone with an assault rifle has killed 6 people and hurt countless others.
And Representative Schneider, we've heard from people who said initially they thought these were just fireworks, but it didn't take long for them to realize, no, these are gunshots and people are being shot. People are dropping to the ground. Talk about the scene. Talk about what you experienced and what people around you, what you've heard from people, witnesses, other witnesses to this crime.
Yeah, as I mentioned, our group was just at the beginning of the parade that hadn't started moving when the shots rang out, and they all quickly dispersed. I was on the perimeter. I got out of the area and actually came across a corner where there were a bunch of young people trying to reach their parents, so I pulled over and offered them my phone if anyone needed to call. I then helped direct traffic. It was a busy corner as people were trying to get out, and we cleared the area. But I think it was, from what I could gather, people weren't exactly sure what happened at that moment. News has been coming out over the course of the day. Initially, I heard that there were 2 people killed. Now that number's up to 6. I pray that there aren't more people who die, and 30 people were hurt. This is like communities all across our area. This is a close-knit community celebrating the 4th of July, wanting to be together and share a happy moment with family and friends. Instead, it is now a community that has been shattered. It's going to take a lot of time to heal and ultimately recover. I know it's a strong community, and we will all come together. I'm grateful for the first responders who went immediately to where the shots rang out, and to all of the police and law enforcement that have come to try to find this shooter and keep our community safe.
Congressman, it's Ravi Bajwal here, along with Sam and Liz in the studio, about 20 miles away from where you are, and we're looking at video of the detritus, the aftermath of all this, people leaving their belongings right where they were, those lawn chairs and everything. And earlier I was telling a story about how in Evanston, for example, people lay out their lawn chairs and their places where they're going to watch their wonderful 4th of July celebrations, you know, a couple of days in advance as a measure of order, putting things in the public way so that they can all come together for this gathering. With that in mind, and knowing what you know and where you stand in terms of gun control on Capitol Hill and what happened with this gun control bill that was passed in a bipartisan way in the aftermath of Uvalde, now this happens in let's face it, in a nice suburb of Chicago, in a big city, which again underscores how, frankly, this can happen anywhere, anytime, to anyone. What do you think this does to the politics of that entire issue, something that I know is very important to you?
Well, first let me say no town expects this and no town deserves this. Every town, especially on the 4th of July, people are coming together and celebrating their community. And, this is a shock in Highland Park, just as a shock anywhere else. We're devastated. These are our friends and neighbors, and we're hearing stories coming in and still trying to make sure that, everyone who needs help is getting the support that they have. The fact of the matter is, I was grateful that we were able to pass the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. It was a step forward, but it was nowhere near what's necessary to try to reduce gun violence in our country. 90% plus of our country supports the idea of universal background checks, that before anyone buys a gun, there's a check to make sure that they're not a threat to themselves or the community. We should be able to pass that in Congress. We should be able to make trafficking of guns across state lines a federal crime. There are things we can do to keep our kids safe in schools, families safe, whether they're going to a parade, a park, or a movie theater, just trying to help restore the safety and security that every American wants and deserves.
Well, Congressman, to that point, I mean, I think a lot of people that I'm hearing from here today are feeling, again, in Chicago, in the local area that we serve, you serve on the political side, we serve in the information situation, people are feeling imprisoned on this day of all days. What do you say to them?
I'm saying we need to come together and make sure that politicians, and let me be clear, it's not all politicians. The House of Representatives that have been The majority has been the Democratic majority for now 2 Congresses. We have twice passed universal background check. It is Republicans in the Senate, and I can't say it's all Republicans, but it's Republicans in the Senate who have blocked that. And we need to get over the partisan politics, even though I just came across as very partisan. I want to work with my Democratic colleagues, my Republican colleagues, to find ways to keep our communities safe, to reduce gun violence in this country while respecting Second Amendment rights. The two are not incompatible. But the fact that an 18-year-old kid in Texas can go on his birthday and buy an assault weapon and walk into a school and end the lives of 19 young children and 2 teachers should shock all of us. And the fact that on the 4th of July in Highland Park in my community, that what appears to be a young person with an assault weapon from a rooftop can shatter a community and kill 6 people and send 31 to the hospital. And bring law enforcement from all over the area looking for him, ending parades and celebrations across our entire city. We shouldn't accept this. We can do more, and I think if we work together, we can find a path to make our community safer.
And Congressman, I'm curious, this is Liz Nagy here in the studio. I'm curious, with regards to this investigation, as a Congressman, if you're hearing anything that you might be able to share with us. We do know that Attorney General Merrick Garland has been briefed, that Homeland Security officials are now involved in this investigation. The ATF is there, as is the FBI. What can you tell us about that investigation right now and where it stands?
I don't have anything to share. I know probably what you know. What I know is probably from the sources you have. I've seen on the news. I know the White House has reached out to me and my team, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the leadership, the press conference where Mayor Rodering explained what happened, our local police who are just extraordinary. And I know all resources are going to be devoted to finding the person who did this. But also we need to remember that it's going to take time to help heal and support this community over time. And we need to make sure those resources are available as well.
Representative Schneider, we know that there's still a lot of festivities that were planned in other parts of our state, of course. For people who are watching our coverage and seeing this play out and unfold, what do you tell someone who's just like, I don't know if I can celebrate the 4th at all the rest of the day. I need to be inside. What do you tell those families who are completely just in shock and unsure of if they are safe in their area?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'll tell people is hug your children. Before calling you, I just spoke to my son who's out in California, 2,000 miles away, but devastated by what happened here in our home. Hug your children, and I wish I could say go out. I think each community is going to make their own decision and give their local residents the comfort that they need if they feel it's appropriate to go out. I did see, for example, Evanston has closed their beaches. This is the tragedy of gun violence in this country, that a shooter, in this case in Highland Park, Illinois, ending the lives, brutally, gruesomely ending the lives of 6 people and wounding so many others, is having an impact far greater. And as a country, we need to come together and say enough is enough.
And Congressman, are you hearing from any of your colleagues in Washington on this?
Yes, my phone and text threads have been overwhelmed with an outpouring of love and support. I'm grateful for all my friends who are reaching out and sending their thoughts. Tragically, I have too many colleagues who have experienced what, unfortunately, I and my community are experiencing today. And so the offers of support, the offers of help have been reassuring. But again, what does it say about our country that so many have said, hey, I've been there. What can I do to help? This is something that no community should face, and hopefully we can work to make sure that fewer communities face it in the future.
Congressman, Highland Park, talk to us a little bit more about this wonderful community. I have a lot of friends who live there, folks who have moved up from the city, folks who have moved from other suburbs to be there, to be close to the lake, to have the access to the city through Metra and great transportation. Talk to us a little bit about this community for those who don't know about it, and who makes it up, and how your folks are going.
The police capture this guy.
Now that is different than maybe it might have been had you not gone through that.
I can't say. What I'm thinking about are the families with young children staying inside on a beautiful day when they're supposed to be out having picnics and barbecues and celebrating, and explaining to their children why they can't go outside and what's happened. I'm thinking about the stories tomorrow as the names of the people who were murdered will become known, and we'll realize that it is our neighbors or our friends or even our family that was killed. And I think of every one of those families and the grief that they're going to have. And like I said, today it's Highland Park, and you noted earlier someone said this could happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere, and we just have to do so much better to try to make sure that it doesn't happen day in and day out.
And we are getting some new information from our ABC7i team from ATF. ATF says they are seeking the original purchaser of the firearm. ATF also tells the I-team, quote, that will tell us a lot. That will tell them a lot where and when it was purchased and by whom. So that is from ATF. ATF agents are urgently tracing the weapon recovered in Highland Park. Again, that weapon recovered was a rifle. We don't have specific details on the rifle, but we were told it is a rifle. And ATF is trying to track down where it was purchased and by whom. So that's another really important detail to note, Liz.
Right, and Congressman, I'm curious if you have any reaction to that, or again, if you're getting any bit of insight from the highest levels of the federal government.
No, what I know is that the highest levels of the federal government are involved. As they do every time there's a tragedy in a community like this, the federal authorities, the FBI, respond, and we do what we can to help these communities. I am, as I said before, so grateful for Highland Park Police and the leadership in our community here, but I'm also grateful for the support of the local police and the federal authorities. All resources have to be deployed now to capture this shooter, to make sure that he is taken off the street and our community is kept safe.
Okay.
Congressman, just one last thought again on the bill that was passed, the new law in terms of gun safety, and what you had said earlier, which is that it's some progress. It starts the progress along certain lines, but it's not nearly enough. Given what has happened here in this community and your continued efforts on this issue, how much do you think on Capitol Hill, though, there might be any kind of appetite to, again, look at what has just been passed? Or do you think that those who are perhaps on the other side of this discussion will essentially say, look, we've dealt with this, and this happens, and that's the way it goes, and that there won't be any further progress in terms of gun safety?
Well, I hope there'll be progress. I know that I will work for it. I know that I have many of my colleagues who will join me in that effort, who we've been working for it since I got to Congress more than a decade ago. What I also know is that after Sandy Hook, after the Pulse shooting, after Las Vegas, people said we have to take action, and the gun lobby, NRA, others were able to block it in its tracks. We need people. We need more people. We have a lot. I have many colleagues, but we need 218 in the House and, unfortunately, 60 in the Senate who are willing to stand up to those who stand in the way of keeping our communities safe and making sure that folks can celebrate the 4th of July the way it was intended, honoring the birth of our country, the ideals of our nation, and the strength of our communities.
All right, that is Congressman Brad Schneider of the 10th District, in which Highland Park, the village of Highland Park, is located, a resident of Highland Park as well. Congressman, glad you're safe, glad your team is safe, and you're able to give us these eyewitness accounts, and hopefully your community and all of our communities will be able to heal from this. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with the story, and please stay with our community in the days and weeks ahead.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for your time. We're going to head back out to the scene in just a minute to speak with our Christian Picos, who's there as we await another update. But just to recap for our viewers what we are following here, we have 6 people confirmed dead after police say a gunman opened fire during the 4th of July parade in Highland Park about 10:15 this morning. We're also told there are about 24 people being treated in local hospitals. Right now, investigators are actively looking for a gunman that they believe is armed and dangerous. They're asking people in that Highland Park area to shelter in place. We do know that a weapon has been recovered. police say that that is a rifle that they were able to recover. Sam, what else can you tell us, Samantha?
We actually just got a statement in for Governor J.B. Pritzker from him, and I'm going to read it. It says, quote, "There are no words for this kind of monster who lies in wait and fires into a crowd of families with children celebrating a holiday with their community. There are no words for the kind of evil that robs our neighbors of their hopes, their dreams, their futures. There are no words I can offer to lift the pain of those they leave behind. Please know that our state grieves with you, that MK and I grieve with you, but grief will not bring the victims back, and prayers alone will not put a stop to the terror and rampant gun violence in our country." Again, that is from Governor J.B. Pritzker weighing in on this tragedy. Like Liz mentioned, 6 people dead, 24 people transported to the hospital. We do have a description of the gunman, the alleged gunman, who police say is at large. They say he is between the ages of 18 and 20 years old. They say he is a white male wearing either a white or blue T-shirt, and that he has a short build, and it looks like they said he had long hair, longer hair. So yes, again, he is at large. They are urging the community, as Liz mentioned, to shelter in place. And now we're going to bring in ABC7's Christian Picos, who is live at the scene. Christian, you have any more information to tell us?
Yeah, we are hearing rumblings of a potential news conference that could start in the next few minutes. So right now we are standing by for that. We have definitely seen a flurry of law enforcement activity over the past few minutes, the past 30 minutes or so. Lots of federal agents, local authorities as well, walking around with long weapons, something that you never ever want to see, of course. But we do want to read you that description of this alleged gunman they are still looking for at this hour, of course, because this is still an active search. Described as a white man between 18 and 20 years old with long dark hair, wearing a white or blue T-shirt. Anyone with information is obviously asked to call the Highland Park Police Department. The FBI also asking for information if you have that as well. You're asked to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, that number is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Authorities do believe that the gunman acted alone, and this was some sort of random act as well. Still a lot of actively developing information. This is going to continue to change throughout the afternoon as we get those new breaking details. But for now, we're going to continue to monitor the Highland Park Fire Department where we are right now, hoping to get some sort of new information in the next 20 to 30 minutes or so.
Christian.
Anybody, thanks very much. I just want to say, just remind people again that this is an active situation there, and people really do need to shelter in place because there technically is still a threat out there until this person is apprehended. We also want to note, I've just actually put up on my Twitter, there are some families have become separated from each other, and we have just had a tweet that went by and has been cleared by ABC News, and I put it on my Twitter of a 3-year-old child who somehow has been separated from his family. There may be other situations like this, so take a look at our Twitter feeds for some information on that to be able to.
People shot. They do tell us that most of the injuries were gunshot wounds, but other injuries were from some of the chaos that ensued after the shooting, people trying to run, escape. So still being treated here. They said they were able to mobilize quickly, add nurses and staff, and most of the police have this hospital blocked off, the areas around and all the nearby towns. You see that presence all around from Highland Park to Evanston to Skokie. That presence is clear as these patients continue to get treated, and we'll keep you updated. We're expecting another update from the hospital quite shortly.
Mayor, can you tell us anything about what you're seeing outside the hospital? Families who may be rushing there, wondering if they have family members, friends, anyone that they may know inside that hospital being treated, because there is so little information out there right now about the people who were injured, all 24 of them.
Yeah, as of right now, we're working to find out from the hospital how they would like to coordinate those families. We have seen police coordinating most of that effort right now near the entrances. Any cars that come by, they're stopping them and directing them through there. So far, we haven't seen too many families. It's relatively quiet here outside the hospital. That police presence is controlling and coordinating that effort all on the surrounding roads, where it's in a nearby neighborhood, too. So anything quiet for now, but as soon as we find out how families can get connected to any victims or friends, we will let you guys know.
All right, Mayor, we'll come back to you certainly if you're able to speak with any friends or relatives of anyone who may be being treated there inside that hospital. We'll keep an eye out there. That 3-year-old little boy who was one of the people was taken to that hospital. That little boy was okay. He was in the custody of Highland Park police, but had been separated from his family in the chaos of that shooting this morning. We're now awaiting an update from investigators any minute now, any information they may be able to provide us on if they've been able to track down that gunman, perhaps identify him. But this morning, one of the things they were asking for when they spoke to the public for the first time was people to provide cell phone videos, pictures, anything that might be helpful in piecing together a timeline or any possible suspects in this entire situation.
That's right, because again, this person is still at large. They say they are looking for a male aged 18 to 20 years old, white male, wearing either a white or blue t-shirt with a short build and long hair. So again, they are still looking for this person. They're not sure at this time, at least the information we're getting, that they know where he is. They are telling people in the area to shelter in place. So it's very important that people do so along the North Shore. We have heard from we have heard from the city of Chicago. There is no known threat to the city of Chicago. That is according to OEMC. We did hear that they are saying that there is no known threat to Chicago. So that's really important for us to note as well. But nonetheless, people in the Highland Park area in the North Shore, they are telling you to remain in your homes, shelter in place. This is still a very active scene. My gosh, we've been covering this now for a few hours
This
now.
first happened about 10:15 this morning.
That's right, and we've been on the air since 11, and new developments continue to unfold. We've learned that the FBI, many different agencies, the FBI, of course, county, local police, state police, they're all involved trying to unpack what happened here and who's responsible. We also mentioned that they're trying to track down, federal officials are trying to figure out who purchased the rifle. That's according to the ABC 7i team. We've gotten a tip from that. So we're all just trying to understand this. But again, you can imagine people watching at home, Liz and Ravi, trying to find out, what do I do next? I had plans today. I had plans to maybe go out to the lakefront. I had plans to be with family, and they're not sure what to do now.
And I think most people, especially in the Highland Park area, and as Ravi has told us, people in the North Shore in general, are now canceling things. They're staying home. The beaches in Evanston, Ravi mentioned, are now closed. Parades and fireworks celebrations have all been canceled, not only because of the threat, but because this investigation is still going on and because of some of the terrifying video that we have seen here over the last few hours. So that cell phone video shot by a little boy who was just recording the 4th of July parade going down the main street in his town and happened to capture that gunfire on his own cell phone video, just screaming in shock that he was not only seeing that, but he'd actually caught the moment that began.
You can hear, we'll play it again in a moment, but listen to the tone of incredulity, and then the fear comes in, realizing what it is that he's actually just captured here. But as we go through the top of the hour here, and Sam, you've been with it right from the beginning, you know, we're approaching 4 hours on this, and we still have somebody at large. So people have got to recognize this is still a dangerous situation. You need to be sheltering in place if you're in Highland Park. The parade certainly in Evanston and in Skokie are both canceled right now for the 4th of July. The beaches are closed in Evanston to give you a sense of some of the broader consequences of what's happening here. And bearing that in mind, that, you know, this is supposed to be a day, of course, of celebrating freedom and all the rest of it. Let's go to our very own Trey Ward. He is on the ground in Highland Park and has been there, and you've heard some incredible eyewitness testimony earlier. What can you tell us about the latest from where you are, Trey?
Yeah, with that shelter in place now being called in this area, there are less and less people out and more law enforcement agencies flooding the scene here. We can tell you that from people near the scene, telling our crews near the scene that right now they are sheltering in place at nearby businesses, many of them running for their lives after that gunfire rang out. Many of them still inside of those nearby businesses waiting desperately for police officers to find this alleged shooter. So right now, now many people who are still out here really looking in disbelief at all of this massive police scene here. I can tell you that it is pretty much kind of calm here, but we are seeing armed law enforcement officials headed that way near the parade route. Many people at this time still sheltering in place at nearby businesses. We spoke to parents, of course, who were there. One of them was standing in the stage area when the shots rang out. He was with his 5-year-old son. He put his son in a dumpster to hide him from the gunfire, returned to see several people on the ground shot. Right now, we know that at least 24 people are hurt in the hospital, 6 people dead. And right now, families are in disbelief watching from their steps at all of this action happening in Highland Park right now.
All right, Trey Ward with us along with Christian Picos is there. Michelle Gallardo will be reporting for us a little bit later as well. Trey, stay safe. Watch out for those first responders behind you. 6 dead, at least 24 hurt in Highland Park as a result of this shooting. And this person has not been identified who apparently is responsible for this shooting. And so as a result, people in Highland Park asked to shelter in place, cancel all plans to be outside on the 4th of July, and recognize that this is pretty much still an active situation, and as a result, you've got a police presence there that nobody is going to forget anytime soon. We can tell you as well that a firearm, again, was recovered. That is one detail that the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force was able to share with us, and that is of interest, certainly, Liz, to say it suggests that there is more evidence, I think, that, without speculating about it, but it is to suggest that there is more evidence that they know about, and they want to make sure they get it right when they come back out to talk to us. They did promise to talk to us every half hour or so, but let's listen in right now. Here comes Chris Cavelli.
All right, we're back just to give another quick update, and we are going to try to do this every hour on the hour as best as we can. One of the things when I start out here is I just want to remind everybody that the information we have that's coming out is preliminary. We're trying to give you as much information as we possibly can in a timely way where we're not going to impact criminal investigation, impact the safety of those on the scene actively looking for this individual, or impact the safety of anybody else. So please keep that in mind. Information might change, okay? I'm going to turn it over to the commander. He's going to go over and talk about the initial scene response, what that sounded like, what that looked like.
Greetings, Commander Chris O'Neill, Highland Park Police, last name O-N-E-I-L-L. This morning at 10:14 a.m., Highland Park Police and Fire Department units were on scene for the 4th of July parade that started at City Hall at St. John's by the train station, which ran to Central Avenue and then west to Sunset Park. Around 10:14 p.m., we heard loud reports, which we perceived as gunfire. Highland Park Police parade units immediately ran to the plaza area, the source, to locate and identify the source of the noise and the gunshots and gunfire. We immediately identified that people were down, that we had numerous people injured and shot. We communicated that information with our police dispatch, coordinated a medical response with the fire department, and began setting up a inner and outer perimeter, and also requested additional outside resources. We established a command post staging area here at the fire station on Central Avenue, and we continue to obtain information or gather information to try to coordinate who was doing the shooting and where that person was last seen. Firearm evidence was located on a rooftop of a nearby business that was secured. Suspect description that we had at the time was broadcasted on the police radio and shared with responding and on-scene units. Highland Park Police and fire personnel began transporting injured parties to the Highland Park Police Department, and additional resources helped us at the scene. We had an on-scene police commander, which was myself. Our patrol supervisor handled city-wide command for any other incidents, and then we had a commander assigned here at the fire station for the command post.
Most importantly, as far as the investigative aspect goes of this, and this is two-pronged at this time. Number one, We are aggressively looking for the individual who's responsible for the shooting. Number two, we have the criminal investigation that is occurring simultaneously. We're asking anybody with any video surveillance that they may have, please review your cell phones if you were snapping pictures in the area of 2nd and Central today. That could help investigators. They may see something in there that may be useful and allow them to proceed further with the investigation. Any business owners in that area, we're asking please review your video surveillance. If you have any video surveillance of that area at that time, even if you don't see anything in there, we would love to be able to take a look at that so we can further our investigation. Again, the FBI is working in conjunction with us. We have well over 100 law enforcement officers out here on the scene doing the investigation on one side and doing the apprehension efforts on the other. So this is very active. It's going to remain very active for the time to come. I'll try to answer some questions that I can, but again, please understand we can't give away certain aspects of the investigation. We don't want to negatively impact. We want to arrest the offender and hold him accountable for his actions.
Was the building sealed where the rifle was recovered and the witness statements?
I'm not sure of that right now.
Are there any threats online or social media against the parade at all?
None that I am aware of. Certainly investigators are combing through social media to see if there's any clues or any information that they can uncover through social media that might help them with the investigation.
Do you have any updates on victims?
So as of now, we have approximately 24 victims that were transported to area hospitals. There's a number of hospitals. Some hospitals did require going on bypass due to receiving traumatic victims and such a high number of them. So hospitals throughout the region, both Lake and Cook County, received patients from this, and their conditions range, some critical, some serious.
Was there any point when officers had sight of the suspect or made any contact with the suspect?
My understanding as of now is they ran for the gunfire. However, the suspect ceased firing right around that point when they got close.
And on top of the building, is this a building where he's able to discreetly or hide himself during the shooting, or was he just on top of a roof and in plain sight?
All indications is he was discreet and he was very difficult to see.
The information thought that he might have stopped to reload. Some witnesses thought he might have stopped to reload.
That's something.